So, Law 47 of the 48 Laws of Power is all about greed, pride, and arrogance. And it is know what your mark is in victory and know when to stop. Now, those things might not seem like they actually correlate, but you see this lesson learned all the time in history. One of the most recent that I could think of is World War II. Just as an example, I mean, Toothbrush Mustache Man wanted to take over Europe and do the whole thing, whatever. I mean, that was his plan, you know what I mean? And just like unify Germany. He unified Germany. He did it up. He took over Poland, all that stuff. But what I'm talking about and where he messed up is he made a pact with Russia, and then he let his greed get the better of him, and then he tried to take over Russia too. That was his entire downfall. If he didn't do that, the world would be very different today. But it goes to my point of that one little move cost him the entire war, and the same can happen to you and me, to anyone, pretty much. Know what your goal is. Know what you want to achieve by doing something, and when you get there, don't let it get to your head. Obviously, yes, people say stay humble and all that good jazz, but know when to stop. Because if you don't and you push forward, you could undo everything that you just did, all that good. To be honest with you, a prime example is in cryptocurrency, and this is why most people that make money end up losing their money. They will make money off of some ridiculous coin or whatever, and they'll make money throughout the whole run, and they have more money than they've ever seen in their whole lives. Their plan was to make half of that, but then they got the extra, and like that's all fine and dandy. But past this point that I'm talking about is where they mess up. Then they start making more rash decisions because they're like, oh, dude, I made all this money and I have all this money already that I could put aside. How about I make even more? If it was that easy to make this much money, how much more easy using this money that I have would be to make way more money, put it into the millions kind of thing. And unfortunately, what happens is people end up pretty much, like I said, making rash decisions, risky bets, gambling essentially, and losing all the money they made. But if they had just pulled out and been happy with what they had before, they would have been great. And maybe used a small portion of that to play the gambling end of the bull run, like, because it pretty much, if you haven't been in it, it's gambling. It's just you find things, and it's an ultra wild west in a place that's already the wild west. So if you've been there, you know how crazy it gets, and like I've just seen people lose money like mad. But that plays to my point. It's no one to stop, and you could apply this to your own life. You have the goal. You get there. In the example of cryptocurrency, if you make it past that, that's great. But I mean, lock in that first goal in that, but just know when to stop. Like, if you push too far, you're gonna lose. It's not gonna end well. You could win, but like it's like, dude, you're playing Russian roulette. And like, just as another example, I used to know someone, like, or I still know them, but they used to like to actually gamble. And I'd see him at the bar after they would go to the casino and everything. He'd be like, damn, man, I'm so mad. I'm down money. I was like, yo, what happened? He was like, oh, I was on the table, I went there with like $1,000. And, we were playing on whatever, blackjack, wherever it was, because he would play multiple things. And then, dude, I ended up being up like 10 grand. And I was like, what? You just walk away? It's like, nah, dude, nah. And then I ended up like, yeah, I was up 10 grand, and then I went from being up 10 grand to being down $2,000, and I was like, why? And like, I understand. It's like, there's a reason I don't gamble like that, and it's not because I have a problem with it, but it's because I know that that is an issue with a lot of people, and you don't know who you are until you put yourself in that situation. I refuse to put myself in that situation, but if I was in the situation, and I mean, this is armchair quarterbacking. Essentially, it's like, dude, you got $10,000. How did you lose all that? Like, aside, unless you don't want to pay taxes, and it is what it is. It's like, dude, like you were up so much money, like you could have actually like paid a decent amount of bills with that kind of money, but he didn't know when to stop. He felt like he was on a roll, and he just kept on going. And if you know how blackjack works, and this is how counting cards works essentially, is that the slight favor, house favor, goes in one direction or another. And he made his winnings not knowing how to count cards. He made his winnings when the favor was slightly more in his way. And then when the deck turned around, he lost it all. And that's usually how a lot of games like that are in general, where they'll pay out, but it goes either way. But regardless, know when to quit, know when to stop. You hit your goal. Don't push it too far, because at a certain point, you're just going to be playing with fire. Whether you're losing money or you're losing your entire empire, it's just not a good idea. And you get to a point where greed and pride gets to your head, and you think you're invincible, and you just keep on pushing forward, and you don't think you could do any wrong. And that's not the case, because you're blinded by you thinking that you're the best that ever was. And it'll end in tears. Trust me. But I think that's all I have to say about this one. If you don't know me, my name is Brendan. This is The Lost Tribe. If you like this content, hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button, because clearly you like the content. Once again, Brendan, Lost Tribe, peace out.